G'day guys and welcome to round 2 of the Aussie Sim Racing F3 Championship. Before we start, I do have to say that my asthma has flared up a tiny bit at the moment. So if you hear me coughing throughout the video, that is why. Also need to do a bit of housekeeping before we get stuck into qualifying. With the drivers, just a note that X Burton has changed his game tag to Burton with 2 U's and 2 N's, and will compete the remainder of the season using this name. So if you see X Burton's disappeared, he's not actually left the league. He's just changed his name. Also, there were a couple of penalties being applied that were applied at the end of the previous race. Shorty the Aussie was given a 5-second penalty for a dangerous rejoin to the track, and which ultimately caused a collision. And it also cost him 2 penalty points as well. So I'll get into that in a second. Also, X Burton was given a one. X Burton was given 1 penalty point for not obeying blue flags. Like late in the race, he was treating other drivers like they were AI, which is not how you really should be driving. But I think he's new to league racing, so he'll start to learn. As will many of the drivers will learn the proper etiquette to drive with as the season will progress. So hopefully the races will become much more cleaner as the season progresses. Everyone seems to be friendly to each other and respect each other, which is always good to see. So the driver standings have changed slightly. The order's not changed, but you see the points in brackets. They're the points that are scored if there were not penalty points applied. Because if you get penalty points throughout the season, what actually happens is that you get points deducted for if you get a penalty point, it means you lose 1 point in the drivers and constructors championship. So in the case of, sorry for using you as an example, Shooty, but because he caused a avoidable collision, he copped 2 penalty points on his license. So he would have had 6 points for the drivers championship, but because of those 2 penalty points, those 2 points deducted, so he's actually on 4 points for the championship. So come the end of the season, accumulating penalty points could really hurt if you're challenging for the title. So we'll show the constructor standings, and Sauber got 1 less point than what they would have, and Red Bull also have 2 less points than what they would have, thanks to those penalty points. Other than that, everything has stayed the same, and now that's underway. Let's get stuck into qualifying. So we start off here in the garage, and just to check the weather, and oh my god, it's going to be wet for the start of the Grand Prix, this is going to be a bit chaotic, as Rithnik Bird has left the session. He ultimately rejoined, I think, but I don't think he set a lap time in quali. So to be honest, I haven't done wet weather running at China. Man. So, yep. That caused a bit of a drama. Me disconnecting, and I lost 9 minutes. Roughly. So, of course, I've got to jump back in, adjust the setup again to make it a bit more wet weather friendly, but yeah. So I'm going to talk you through this lap. It was the only lap I was able to compete in qualifying. So of course open DRS, fly down the main straight, brake around 25 minutes. Got to make sure your brake bias is towards the front so you don't spin out here as you slowly brake. Just drop down the second for this tight left and try and got a short shift to stop the rear end from sliding out as you're accelerating. Had a bit of dramas with that. Brake at the 100 meters for here, down the third gear to restrict wheel spin. Normally I'd short shift for that, but I didn't that time. This is flat out 7th. Then brake down the 5th just to keep the rev low and avoid the back end stepping out. Same with 3rd. Short shift to 4th. Out to 5th, running a bit wider than I would like. Brake at the 100 meter board again, down to 3rd to again reduce wheel spin on the exit here, but I'll still get some due to the torque of the engine. Now flat out down the back straight. So session here is finished. You see Lockie's on pole currently. So hard on the rev limiter. Brake about 125 meters down to 2nd gear. Then put the throttle down, brake at the shadow, down to 4th gear, run a bit over the curb at the exit, and we're in 2nd place. As the session ends, and I don't think anyone finished lap time then. So we'll have a look at the results. Again, I'm using my spreadsheet, playing around with my mouse at the moment, so sorry about that. But yeah, Lockie got pole with me in 2nd, so we've finally got a front grid lockout for Toro Rosso. Roscoe Arm in 3rd, Spagbowl 4th, Roxman 5th. Fry out-qualified his teammate Stinchy, they're 6th and 7th respectively. Burton's in 8th. Liam's in 9th, Hyperdius in 10th, Prime in 11th, and Nick was not able to set a lap time, so he'll start from the back of the grid in P12. So all times were set on super softs because of the oh my god, I've lost my train of thought. Thank you. Because of the wet start it's going to be for this race, which is always fascinating. So of course we're going to take the fuel out of the car because lean mix reduces wheel spin. And as I flick through the setup, I noticed that the game didn't save my setup, so I have to load my setup from the load setup menu, and I have to readjust my my setup. What I did not do was I didn't adjust the downforce, which in hindsight I really regret doing because I really struggled for grip as we start the formation lap. At this point I was trying to get my party chat sorted out, so I've had to pause the menu, let the AI drive for me during the formation lap as I got my party chat sorted. So coming to the end of the formation lap, I've been able to rejoin the session and caught up to the back when I spun. God, that's silly. Which caused me to be so late to join the grid. Sorry guys about that, but my crappy driving sort of did that. So lined up on the grid, sort of facing to the outside of turn 1 here. 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Spagbolt's jumped to start as it's lights out and away we go. This really helps Spagbolt avoid turn 1 carnage. As we've outbroken ourselves, we've gone wide. So bit of lag starting to set in. Burton's had a spin. I've been hit up the backside there. Don't know where the cars are. I've hit Liam, I think it was. I've been hit up into the air. So later on lap 1, we got a spinner, that's Roxman, that spun. Prime's out on the grass, but he's able to save it. He's missed the apex as well, so I'm not sure if he's trying to let me through or not, but I'm just trying to be cautious in this early stage. For some reason I'm still in rich mix. I've just changed that down to lean now. I've outbroken myself. Someone else has outbroken themselves. I think it might have been Burton. We've got Lockie on my outside, but I think he loses a bit of rear traction. Yeah, he slows down quite considerably. As we cut to the start of lap 2, Stinchy's right behind us. As we run wide, we've sort of done worse than what Prime did up ahead. If you notice, he went a bit wide. Turn on there. It's at this early stage, it was very hard to judge where the braking zones were, because not many of us had done wet weather running around this track. So yeah, I'm just trying to short shift, try and feel where the grip is. I'll put a wheel on the grass, which is a bit silly. Been in the party chat. I was in the party chat with Roxman. I decided to let these guys through because I was lagging a little bit in this early stage on their screen. So I decided I'll let Roxman through. I'll let Spagbowl through, who I actually thought was Lockie at the time, and now I've let Lockie through, just so that I'm not hurting. But Lockie sort of lagged back a bit and compromised my run into turn 1. But Lockie lost his back end in that corner by the looks of it, and so we were able to get that place back. Cut to lap 5, Nick's just had a bit of an incident at turn 1, so we've got a run on him. Down his inside. We brake roughly the same time, but I've got the inside line, and we've got the move done, so we're up into P7 now. And charging away. So Jeff wants us to pit at the end of this lap, but I don't want to do that because that could compromise the switch to dry tyres. But as you see, our tyres are up to 45% on the left rear, 47 as we have a little spinny spin. That lets Nick back through to take 7th place. He's up into 6 now as he's run up wide at the tight back section, and we've just spun. It looked like we spun off his rear wheel, but what actually happened was I just put too much throttle down and spun on my own accord. That was not Nick's fault. And then I was coming onto the track, and Burton hit us up the rear end. I sort of ducked across the track to get off the racing line because I was sort of parked on it. Yeah, I felt bad for him. At the time I thought I was on the racing line, so I decided to just redress it. And that'd be it, but yeah, he pits at the end of that race, that lap, because he had front wing damage. We've actually got a bit of front wing damage too, accumulated earlier in the race as Hyperdius has left the session. He's yet another race where he's had connection issues. So cut to... Yeah, thank you, Jeff. So 10 minutes more of light rain. And Roxman's crashed. Oh my god. So he's crashed it. You see on the minimap he's crashed at the final corner. I think he's got up on the curb and spun it into the wall and lost his wheel. We're coming into the pits following Lockie in as Prime sets the fastest lap of the race. So make sure we're well below the speed limit, because the game gave 2 penalties to Prime for speeding the pit lane, despite the fact that he was not speeding and he had the pit limiter on really early. But just to be safe, just drop it down earlier. The game can't penalise you for speeding, as Lockie has retired from the race. No, that doesn't help the constructors. Oh no, I think he's lost it coming out of the coming out this long right hand sweeper, and I think he's must have had a tank slapper going on or something. He's ended up on the left hand side, and he must have just nudged the wall or something. And if you just nudge a wall in this game, you'd lose your wheel. It's the contact system is really silly. So we're short shifting out as there's still not grip. When DRS gets enabled, it's time for dry tyres. I should have pitted at the end of the previous lap, but I wasn't quite sure. Like, as you can see, like, you can't really see a dry line. So Jeff wants us to go into mediums, which we'll accept it at the time, but I really want to go to softs because I know with how good my tyre wear is that I can take softs to the end, and as can most other drivers, except for maybe a couple of pad runners that are yet to work out how to drive smoothly on it. So we pop out ahead of Burton, who I think is just coming to the pits now, and we're a long way behind Stinchy. So we've got, of course, we're sliding a little bit because we got caught on the wet stuff. We cut to lap 16 and we set the fastest lap of the race. I know we're one of the fastest. We're one of the top 3 fastest cars, and we set another fastest lap on lap 23. 37.5, which was our fastest lap we did. Cut to lap 24 because the rest of the race was quite boring. We finally caught up to Spag Bowl and these guys up in front. So end of lap 25, we got DRS finally. We weren't quite able to get DRS before, but we are there now, so we're catching rapidly. Lap 26, we get very close to the gearbox of Spag Bowl. Stinch is struggling in the wet. Not wet, sorry, on his tyres. So Spag, in fact, they both go wide and they check up, and I've had to brake. Got a mega run out of that corner. I could have passed them both, but I passed Stinchy here, going around his outside. He's sort of concedes the position because he knows that I'm faster. And I'm trying to get a good run on Spag Bowl here. And we're going down with DRS. We're running lower wings than probably most other people, so we've got more straight line speed. We've made the move stick. Drop it down to second. And no! Damn! We've spun it, and right when we were looking good for a podium. Ah. So the rest of the race was uneventful. Nick won it from Prime, and Liam finished in third, which could have been us. Oh, I'm so annoyed at myself. That is so irritating. Both the redress and this spin has cost us the race win as we cut to the race results. So it was actually a bit weird. Like on my, it was actually Prime who won, but on my screen, I think my game, on my point of view, the game added 5 seconds to Prime's time. So it was actually Nick who. Oh, sorry, yeah. So it was actually Prime who won, then Nick, and then Liam. So apologies for the wrong call there. I was just looking at my edit and it had the Williams driver on the top step when it should have been Prime in the Renault. Yeah, just something glitched out with my game, and yeah, because Prime had 2 5-second stop goes that race for speeding, and I think the game's added both penalties on to his race time, although it only displayed 1 5-second. So Spag Bowl 4, Cinchy 5th, we ended up finishing in 6th, Fry 7, Burton 8th, Hyperdius in 9th. Lockie finished in 10th, but he didn't complete 90% of the race, so he doesn't get any points for it, unfortunately. Roxman, you saw, crashed out, and Roscoe, I didn't mention him, but he actually retired at turn 2 on that first lap. I think it was a bit of a laggy crash with Lockie that ripped off his front wing. I will leave a link to his video of his crash that put him out. Yeah, no, I've a bit of a weird thing with Hyperdius because he lagged out. He would have been the last car to cross the finish line, but because Fry was the last human car to cross the finish line, the race finished like that, which labelled Hyperdius as a DNF. So I've looked at the times, and he would have finished the race had he had the game let the AI drive on its own. So I've adjudicated that Hyperdius has finished 27 laps and therefore finished the race only 1 lap down, which is quite surprising considering that it was a slow running AI car for most of the race. Yeah, so Rhythmic Bird had the fastest lap. He stole it off me in the dying laps. But yeah, so have a look at the drivers' standings now. And you see Nick has extended his championship lead to Stinchy. Prime has really jumped up the order from last to 3rd. Liam, Mr. Consistent in 4th place. We've managed to hold on to 5th. Roscoe with the DNF falls down the order to 6th. Spagbowl rises up to 7th. Chaos, because he did not compete in that race, drops down to 8th. Fry's up to 9th. Hyperdius down to 10th. Burton up to 11th. Or down to 11th, I should say. Shooksy to Aussie for not competing in that race falls down to 12th. Lockie's dropped down to 13th. Then Roxman and Unveil are still yet to score a point, with Unveil not being able to race in this race. I can't remember what the reasoning was, but he stated it before. CMA actually just missed out on the race. If the race started probably like 10 minutes later or something, he would have been in. But yeah, that's what happens when you leave. I mean, it wasn't his fault, but yeah, the update was left quite late, and yeah, which was a bit unfortunate. So we'll have a look at the constructors title now, and yeah, Williams out in front with Force India 2nd, Renault 3rd, Mercedes 4th, Toro Rosso 5th, McLaren 6th, Sauber 7th, Ferrari have dropped way down to 8th, and Red Bull are 9th. You can tell this is an online league and not real life F1. That'll do it for me. Leave a like, comment and subscribe for more ASR videos. Follow me on Twitter as well, because I often update that with what I'm doing video wise. Yeah, so have a good one, guys, and I'll catch you later. Goodbye.